Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Cone back again here tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. I believe this is now a week-long streak, and we're going to keep this thing going. I am recording this before the Blazers versus Nuggets game ends. I've been up till like 4 in the morning the past few nights making these videos, and so I'm going to get myself to sleep a little bit earlier. The Blazers are up 19 as I record this video anyways. They're probably going to win. Anthony Simons is going off. He had 22 points in the third quarter. Dame's going off. It looks like the Blazers might be pretty good. We will have to see. But for right now, let's talk about the other things that happened in the NBA tonight. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. And let's go ahead and get right into it. As you can probably tell from the title and thumbnail of this video, the game that I want to focus on primarily is Grizzlies versus Nets. In this one, the Grizzlies got a pretty big win over Brooklyn, where Ja Morant and Desmond Bane both went off. But before we get to them, let's quickly cover what happened with Brooklyn. The story for Brooklyn so far this season has been the play of the people outside of their big two. Kyrie and Kevin Durant have both been pretty good this season offensively. They both had 37 points, while Kyrie threw in 8 rebounds and 5 assists, and Kevin Durant had a stat line of 37, 5, and 4. They've both been really solid. When they're giving you 74 points in a game on pretty solid efficiency, they've done their job. You can't really ask for much more from your star duo. Someone outside them has to step up, and we really haven't seen many guys step up in a big way. Nick Claxton's been pretty good so far. He had 16 and 7 in this game. We've seen some play from some other guys here and there, but nothing super consistent. And most of that comes back to Ben Simmons, who was supposed to be the third member of this big three. He's the guy that they traded James Harden for, and he has not lived up to that trade value at all up to this point. Early on this season, he's averaging more fouls than shot attempts. He's not looking for his shot whatsoever, so he's a non-factor on offense, and he's a guy who's supposed to be their best defender. He's supposed to be someone that can lock up the opposing team's star player, and spoiler alert, nobody was locked up on the Grizzlies tonight when Ben Simmons was guarding them. He fouled out in this one in a really bad way too, where Ja Morant very clearly baited him into his 6th foul late in the game. He has to be better than this. His stat line tonight was 7, 8, and 3. He shot 5 times and had 5 turnovers. You can't be putting up those stats as the third member of a big three. It's just not acceptable. He's not playing good defense. He's a non-factor on offense. If this is the Ben Simmons they're going to get all season, Brooklyn's going to be mediocre at best. Sure, some of their other role players could play better. Joe Harris could be better. Seth Curry hasn't played yet. Maybe he plays a difference. But if Ben Simmons isn't up to the level of Ben Simmons we've seen in the past, Brooklyn is very quickly going to crumble. They don't have the guys to back up Ben Simmons. He has to be the backbone of that defense, a playmaker, and he has to look to score at least sometimes. He's not even trying out there to put the ball in the basket, which is the whole goal of basketball. It's really frustrating to watch him play, and I remember watching him being frustrated in Philly, and for some reason I thought it might change here in Brooklyn. It hasn't up to this point. He's got to change his game around, whether it's something mental-wise or it's just a style of play he thinks he has to have. Steve Nash needs to talk to him. His teammates have to. He has to be better if this team wants to get out of this weird rut that they're in, and if he doesn't, Brooklyn's in trouble. But enough about Brooklyn, let's go over to some positives and talk about the Memphis Grizzlies. In particular, Ja Morant has been phenomenal to start this season. Last year, he won Most Improved Player, and he was mentioned here and there in MVP talks, but he was really never a true contender for the award amongst the likes of Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. This year, I have a feeling it's going to be different, because he has gone from a star to a rising superstar in the league, one of the guys who's going to be one of the faces of the league for years to come at this point. Tonight, he dropped 38, 8, 7, and 2 on 12 of 22 shooting, 4 of 6 from 3. He continues to be insanely athletic. He's one of the most must-see TV players in the league. Anytime the Grizzlies are playing, you need to turn on League Pass or national TV. Wherever they are playing, I don't care if they're playing a rebuilding team, I don't care if they're playing the best team in the league, whoever they're playing, you need to watch Ja Morant play, because he is going to give you 4, 5, 6, 7 plays every single night where you're like, how did he do that? I can't believe that he just put up that shot, that he made that shot, that he dunked on that guy, that he blocked that guy in transition. He's going to do something basically every 3 minutes that he's on the court that makes you question how it's even possible. He's legitimately in conversation conversations for the most athletic guard of all time amongst the likes of Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, John Wall. He is that hyper athlete. He can get to the basket basically at will. There's no one who could stop him. No one on the Nets could stop him tonight. And up to this point in the season, nobody has stopped him in general. He had a 49-point game in the opener against the Houston Rockets. His lowest scoring game of the season was 20 against the Mavericks, and that's only because they got blown out because Dallas just seems to have Memphis's number for some reason. Ja's improved his handle, his ability to get to the basket, his ability to finish at the basket. He somehow looks more athletic every single season. He's playing at a higher level defensively too. It feels like every aspect of his game has improved, and I don't know how he continues to do it, how he continues to get better, because last year it was like, oh my gosh, he's rising up. He's this borderline MVP type player. This year it looks like he's going to be a bona fide contender for the award. Like I said, he had a 49 piece in just 31 minutes against the Rockets, and on the season, through these first 4 games, he's averaging 35.5 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 7 assists on 55% shooting, and probably most surprisingly, 60% from 3, which has been the biggest aspect of his game that's standing out to me. So far, Ja Morant has shot 23, so about 5 a game, and he's knocked down 12 of them for, like I said, 60%. Now, that's not a major sample size or anything, but it says a lot about his improvement, how he's doing it really consistently. Early on in his rookie season, they were just kind of letting him shoot out there. He was never really a threat from deep. Now he's not only knocking down threes off the dribble or catch and shoot, but he's doing it from deeper and deeper, like one he had tonight. That was the dagger against the Nets. And if Ja Morant is knocking down deep threes, I don't know how you guard him, because you can't play up on him because he'll just drive right past you. And if someone comes over to help, he's going to throw a lob to someone or kick it out because he's a phenomenal playmaker. Or if you play off of him and he's splashing threes, he's just going to splash threes over you. There's really nothing you can do if he's on fire from 3. I don't know how you guard him. One of the fastest and most athletic players we've ever seen at the guard position, with great playmaking instincts and a deep ball, feels like a pretty much unstoppable player. He can also go up and grab offensive rebounds too with his great athleticism, create opportunities for his teammates in the second chance point category. There's really nothing Ja Morant can't do on the court right now. He's still not a phenomenal defender, but like I said, because of his physical tools, he continues to become peskier on that end, and I feel like he's only going to keep improving because he feels like one of those players that is never satisfied with where he's at in his game. He wants to get better. He's continuously motivated by himself. There doesn't need to be any outside noise that pushes him. He knows how great he wants to be, and it feels like we're watching one of the next great point guards really come into his own this season. I don't think he's going to average 35 the whole year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he averages right around 30, maybe like 29 or even 30 itself. It just feels like there's no way to stop him. He's only going to continue to be more and more dangerous as well as his teammates get better. A guy like Desmond Bane, who just dropped 38 tonight, a career high against Brooklyn. He had 8 threes, 7 assists. He's a better defender than people give him credit for. It almost feels like he's going to be Ja's Klay Thompson. I'm not saying he's the shooter or the defender that Klay was, but just being that high-level sidekick next to Ja that really helps him elevate his game. They're a dynamic duo, and it feels like Desmond Bane might be on an all-star trajectory if he continues up this rate of improvement that he has shown throughout this early portion of his career. And him and Ja Morant are going to be one of the best backcourts in the league for such a long time. They're such a great fit together. I honestly thought the Grizzlies were really going to struggle in this early portion of the year without Jaren Jackson Jr., their defensive anchor. I predicted they would drop to a play-in team, but with how great Ja Morant's playing, Desmond Bane showed up tonight, and the rest of the guys, the Grizzlies always just seem to find high-level role players in the draft. Their talent development is almost second to none in this league. They're going to continue to rise up regardless of Jaren Jackson being here or not. There's still time for them to kind of go through a little bit of a lull, but with how good Ja Morant is playing, I don't expect them to at this point. And if they can be towards the top of the standings when Jaren Jackson comes back, he's only going to make them better. And at that point, I wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies go out and once again snag a top 2 seed in a loaded Western Conference. And if they do, Ja Morant is going to be right in the thick of those MVP conversations, and he could become only like the 7th or 8th player that's 23 or younger to win the award. It would be a phenomenal feat, but the way Ja Morant is rising up as a superstar and one of the faces of the league, it's a feat that I wouldn't be surprised if he accomplishes. Moving on from that, the Chicago Bulls beat the Boston Celtics in pretty dominant fashion. The Celtics took a massive lead early in this one, but in the second quarter, Chicago completely took over. Vucevic had 18 and 23. He's looked pretty solid to start the season. If he can continue to be a consistent force, it goes a long way for the Chicago Bulls Bulls, who really needed more from him last year. DeMar DeRozan continues to be solid with 25. Zach LaVine had 19. And I want to give a quick shout out to Ayo Dosunmu, who kind of flies under the radar. He had 22, 6, and 2 in this game, and he continues to be a stabilizing force for the Bulls, despite missing Lonzo Ball, who is huge for this team. When Lonzo Ball's on the court, he makes everyone around him better, and they still do really need Lonzo to be competitive to the level they want to be, but Ayo is a great replacement. He's simulating a lot of the same things as a second-year player. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is this early in his career. A complete steal for the Bulls in the second round of last year's draft, and he deserves a massive shout out. For the Celtics, it really just wasn't their night. After that first quarter, they went pretty cold. Jason Tatum had 26, 8, and 5 and continues to play really well. Jaylen Brown had 21 and 6, albeit pretty inefficiently. Honestly, they just really couldn't seem to put the ball in the basket. They seemed off rhythm, and Chicago took full advantage of that, getting a pretty big win for the Bulls. Then we had the Spurs versus the Timberwolves, where the Spurs got a win. Now moving to 3-1 on the season. I don't know what's happening in the NBA. There are so many teams that are just kind of going off, and I know it's early in the season, they could still fall in the standings, but the fact that the Spurs are now 3-1 when I thought they might win like 15 games total is very impressive. A lot of the credit goes to guys like Jakob Poeltl, who dominated. He had 14 and 14. He's going to be a guy that a ton of contenders are going to look at to add to their roster by the deadline. Devin Vassell had 23, 9, and 7, following up a great performance against the Sixers last time he was out there. He looks like a great candidate for most improved player. Keldon Johnson had 18, another guy that has stepped up big. They're a lot tougher than I thought, to be honest. I still think they're going to fall pretty far in the standings eventually, but up to this point, they've really held their own. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Timberwolves fall to 2-2 on the season, despite what has been a fairly easy schedule so far, at least on paper. They've played us twice, the OKC Thunder, the Spurs, and the Utah Jazz. Albeit, like I said, the Spurs and the Jazz both 3-1 now. The Timberwolves should beat all of those teams. They should not have lost a game up to this point. They honestly just kind of look disjointed, and honestly, that first game against OKC was really close too. If a couple shots bounced a different way, there's a real chance they could be 1-3 right now. They've got to be better than this if they want to be a true contender like they plan to be. They really just kind of look disjointed. It's going to take some time for everything to gel, both offensively and defensively. It feels like guys are kind of just figuring out their roles right now. I'm not super worried. I think the Timberwolves will be fine, but it's not a great start to what was supposed to be a really easy beginning to the season. In other news, the 76ers got their first win of the season, moving to 1-3. James Harden continues to look great, and he's bouncing back in a massive way for that team. I think he's going to truly be a dark horse MVP candidate. For the Pacers, Benedict Mathurin is still super good. He started this game really rough. I think he was 0 for 7 or 0 for 8 from the field and really turned it up towards the end. So shout out to him. Tyrese Halliburton was solid. Jalen Smith was solid. But all around, the Sixers are just the better team. For the Knicks, Julius Randle had a pretty good game with a 24, 12, and 4 outing as they beat the Orlando Magic. RJ and Brunson both pitched in a 20-piece. The Knicks have looked pretty solid so far. You know, nothing too crazy, but all in all, they're holding their own against the teams they're supposed to. They took the Grizzlies to overtime and now beating the Magic. It's been a decent showing for them up to this point. Paolo Banchero had 21, continues to look really good. But the story of this game was Bol, who got some real playing time, put in 19 points and 5 rebounds in limited minutes. He was showing off a bunch of different moves. He had a block that was really impressive. It looks like Bol might have actually found a home in Orlando, and I hope he does. He's a guy I've been rooting for since the draft. I'm really excited to see him get those opportunities, and I hope he continues to do so, because I feel like there is still some type of potential in there for him, and if Orlando is able to unlock him, it's just another story of them finding some really good talent. Then we had the Raptors beating the Heat in a game where Pascal Siakam continues to dominate, still looking like his all-NBA self. The Heat did not have Caleb Martin in this one, their typical starting power forward, and they really got torched because of it. Gave up, I believe, 21, 22 rebounds to Precious Achiuwa, former Heat legend, of course, so he got his revenge in the win. And finally, over in Houston, Jalen Green continues to play really well, although there was a heated altercation, it seemed like, between him and Jabari Smith on the sideline. Maybe it was just competitiveness coming out in the two of them. I'm not going to look too deep into it, but they did get the win, handing Utah their first L of the season. On Utah's side, you know, everyone kind of played decently, but all in all, just not enough. That's all I have to say for tonight's slate of games. Like I said, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy. I really appreciate y'all watching, all the support y'all have shown through this early stretch of the season. It has blown me away. Thank you so much to everyone who has liked, subscribed, even just watched a second of these videos. It means the world to me. I can't thank y'all enough. As always, I really appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.